Our theme this month is joy. And my topic today is goodness all around. Goodness all around. Joy. I say all the time, let us not confuse joy with being happy. Being happy is circumstantial from the root word hap, which means circumstance. When we're happy, we're pleased with the things that are going around, but joy is beyond that. Joy is our capacity to be overwhelmed, to feel something deep inside that is so calm and so peaceful and so joyful, so beyond the circumstances, that we know that it's an inside job. See, all of the spiritual qualities are inside jobs. What we're looking for, we're looking with. Let that sink in for a moment. We have a tendency to objectify the spiritual qualities. So we're chasing after love. We're chasing after peace and power and faith and hope and peace. No, joy is who we are. I get these spirit downloads, and I love the spirit definition of joy. It comes always in this formula where there's something that we have to bring to the table that meets something that's already here that we're just missing because there's something in the middle that we have to do to connect the dots. Something that we have to bring that meets up and activates something to allow us to experience something that's already here. It activates the quality inside of us so that we can experience it. The joy is already there, we're just missing it. The spirit definition of joy, it says it's where your transcendent awareness. I'm going to stop there for a second. Okay. That's what we have to bring to the table is a transcendent awareness. That's why I think that song that Beth just sang is perfect from a distance. It doesn't mean separation, but it's a transcendent awareness. And we have to seek a transcendent awareness. A transcendent awareness just doesn't fall on you. Okay. It's a location, it's an elevation of consciousness that you have to choose. You got to go there. Joy is where your transcendent awareness, it rests. Rests. Oh, what a beautiful concept, just to rest. You know, when you rest, you're not struggling. When you rest, you're not anxious. When you rest, you're not pushing. When you rest, you're not trying to get somewhere. When you rest, you're chilling. When you rest, you are restoring. When you rest, you are rejuvenating. When you rest, you're just soaking it in for a moment. Okay? We're always trying to figure stuff out. We're always trying to get ahead. We're always running from something or running to something. But when we allow our transcendent awareness just to rest, when is the last time you have allowed your awareness to rest, let alone your transcendent awareness? Can you rest? And I'm not just talking about being asleep. Can you rest? I remember how frustrated I used to be with these spirit messages that would come in these forms of the letters. Some of them are in a series called Letters from the Infinite. And I would be awakened so often at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I was just resentful because I'm tired. And I was particularly resentful if the message was for somebody else. And if I already knew they didn't even want the message, what are you waking me up for? Wake them up. It's for them. And then I got it. Where that spirit voice was saying, I have to wake you up in the morning because that's the only time you're not fighting me. So I have to wake you up in the morning because you're resting then. That's the only time you're available to me. See, when you learn how to rest in the middle of activity, then I won't have to wake you up because you'll already be awake. Listen to that. When you're able to rest in the middle of activity, I won't have to wake you up from sleep because you will be awake and resting. This joy where our transcendent awareness rests in something that's already there. It said, my ineffable peace. And I thought, wow, I don't even know what ineffable means. I had to look that word up. And I loved it so. Ineffable means that it's so magnificent that there aren't even words to explain it. That there's a peace that's so profound, it is beyond words to explain. That you will experience joy when you allow your transcendent awareness to rest in this peace of mind that's always there. See, we keep trying to find the good in the middle of the mess. We keep trying to find the good in the circumstance. The peace doesn't come from the circumstance. The joy doesn't come from the circumstance. The joy comes from the divine that's always there. We've got it backwards. We're trying to find the good in the mess. The mess is taking place within the context of the good. See, we make good like a needle in a haystack. There's all this junk around here, and somewhere in there, there's some good. No, everything is taking place on the stage of the divine. Nothing is outside of the infinite. And if you could imagine for a moment, instead of what's in your picture of your mind is all the circumstances and trying to wade through that, but instead seeing the divine. Seeing the divine. And this stuff is going on, it's just a speck in there. Boom. Like the song From a Distance. That I'm so up here, I don't even know what we're fighting about. Because from a distance, you look like my friend. And there's a transcendent awareness. I can't even tell what we're fighting for. From this transcendent awareness, why are there hungry mouths to feed? From this distance, everything looks like it's in balance, in harmony. What is going on? And that's a place you have to go to. That's a place you have to choose. Every week, we do affirmations. These are affirmative activations. Don't underplay their power or what they are designed to do. So if you take the ones for today, and every week they are exactly 100 words. Exactly 100. Is ancient. Jesus said this a couple of thousand years ago. It is done unto you as you believe. And by the way, when I use scriptural references, it is not to say that the truth is in the scripture exclusively. It's to say it's old. It's really old. And if we can find the truth in something that old, it's been around a while. It's been around a while. These activations, they're not only declarations of truth, They are action items. They are steps to do. People are always wondering, well, what should I do? What should I do? They're in the affirmations. Do this. Furthermore, they cover a span of activity. Just like to keep a healthy immune system, physical immune system, we have to eat, we need nourishment, we need sleep, we need rest, we need a lot of things, and these things are not substitutable. You can't substitute eating for rest and rest for sleeping. You need all of them. Well, it's the same way to keep our spiritual immune system up. A lot of times we can't experience the joy because our spiritual immune system is down. It's because we have become vulnerable and susceptible to all of the contagious thinking that's out there. Thoughts are like viruses, literally. They're communicable. And you have to build up your spiritual immune system so that you're not catching every thought that's running around out there. And that the ones that do come into your awareness, you have the capacity to know which one to nurture and which one not to. It reminds me of the old parable, Native American parable, about this kid that's having a conversation with his grandfather, and his grandfather is describing to him how within each one of us, there are these hungry wolves, and describing as one wolf is like, therefore, your highest and most benevolent good, and that this other wolf is there and isn't quite on that page, and that other one is kind of lost in its own sense of its self-importance. And the kids listening and wanting to know the end of the story. Well, which one wins? Whichever one you feed. That's the one that wins. So if you look at just the activations for today, you'll see that they go that gamut with that spiritual immune system. That some things are about stepping it up. Some things are about resting. And even if you just pick one, let alone two or three, and really use it, like really use it throughout the week. And here's the thing, is that we speak universal spiritual truth here, and we allow you to figure out through your inner guides, what's your next step? I say sometimes some people need to speak up. Some folks need to shut up. There isn't one prescription for everybody. Some people need to take up more space. Some people need to back it down a few notches. Some people need to start becoming more focused. Some people need to chill out and relax. So I'm not going to sit here and give you a prescription and say, just do this. Say, these are the spiritual principles, find your way. And then within this is a variety of menu. We need all of it, but some of us may need to focus on certain parts of it more than others. You will tell by two ways. One, what really speaks to your heart, and you go, ah. Two, what you really resist. Okay. If it's really pulling you or really annoying you, it's for you. This week's, just listen to it and see that these are action steps and they cover a lot of terrain. I am careful about what I reinforce in my mind. That's an action step. Calm, affirmative thoughts quell my monkey mind. Through the transformation of my mind, I am renewed. I release negative energy and refrain from fanning its flames. Those are actions. And when you do those actions, you recalibrate yourself from the inside. You start to vibrate at different frequencies. My life is filled with examples of being uplifted and supported. Everywhere I turn, there's evidence of goodness and past blessings. So some of this is action and stuff for you to do. And some of it is just, hey, sit back, chill, and notice. Be aware. You don't have to push all the time. Be aware there's goodness that's all around you. There are things that are happening. I bring to conscious remembrance the times that life has exceeded my expectations. I bring it to conscious remembrance. I remember the kindness not anticipated, the extra mile traveled to support me. We get into forgetfulness. It's, I love that Wanda Sykes put it was about how we learn in American institutions that it just goes in one ear and out the other. Tests have shown that the final exams you give people in June, if they don't reinforce it by September, they have forgotten over 60% of it. She said, it's like our head's a big old Etch-a-Sketch. It like it goes in there and we just shake it out. And that's how we do with most of our blessings, most of our miracles, most of the wonderful things. It goes in, we kind of see the picture, and then we shake it out. And then we're starting all over again. Instead of allowing the blessings to be cumulative, instead of allowing them to be new foundation stones upon which we can stand, we just keep wanting another one to be a stepping stone. So I can step over this situation on to the next one and then forget. No. Let them cumulative be a new foundation for you. It says, I proclaim my testimony in each test. Every test is a testimony. You won't know joy till you've been through something. You won't know it. Every test is a testimony. I proclaim my triumph in the trial. While you're in it, don't wait to get out of it. You want the joy, you proclaim it while you're in it. It says, I always choose joy over drama. I always choose joy over drama. One of my favorite lines in the whole series of the letters is, drama is optional. Drama is optional. And another thing about these is that I really invite you to shift the emphasis on each one. Because every time you shift the infinite emphasis on a word, you get a different feeling. For example, everywhere I turn, there's evidence of goodness and past blessings. Everywhere I turn. Everywhere I turn, there's evidence. Everywhere I turn, there's evidence of goodness. You never know, like, which angle it's going to, like, really make it click in. But within each of these, there are a multitude of affirmations if you're willing to switch the emphasis. We need a transcendent awareness. It's this choice to go up. Now, here's one of the things that gets us in trouble. Is we get stuck on the circumstances. And we particularly get stuck on the things that we don't like or the things that seem to be out of alignment. So I grew up very Pentecostal, very fundamentalist, and there was a lot of talk about sin. And the talk about sin was always about our behavior. It was like these bad things that we do. As I learned more linguistic study, this word sin that's used in the Bible, in the New Testament, literally means missing the mark. Listen to that. It means missing the mark. So contrast this emphasis here with sin being about this bad thing that you did versus it being about there's some place you were supposed to get to and you didn't get there. Feel that difference. There's this bad thing you did over here. There was this place waiting for you you didn't get to. Just let that sink in for a moment. So we spend all of our time being overly concerned about this bad thing that happened or this place that we went to that wasn't the highest and the best. But it's about missing the mark. See, the quote unquote sin isn't so much about activity, it's about location. You missed the mark. You arrived someplace you shouldn't have been at. It's about location. You missed the transcendent awareness. Whatever it is that you did, you didn't rise up enough to the occasion. You didn't act like you knew what you knew. You didn't act like you were the spiritual being that you really are. You didn't act like you knew that everybody else was a spiritual being. You missed it. You missed it. Come back. There's an invitation in there. Come back and see what you missed. We spend all of our time rehashing, revisiting the places that were lost, the places where we missed it, the places that we were out of alignment. It is as though we're in a car and we got off in terms of the directions. And then we put the GPS on and we don't calculate the GPS to take us to where we need to go. We put in the GPS lost. And we tell the GPS to reroute us through the mistake that we made. Okay, take me back there again and let me keep going back over that again and again until I can find out how I got lost or where I was lost. But we're not putting in the new direction. We're not putting in where it is we want to be. Well, Reverend Deborah, if we do that, we're going to keep making the same mistake. We're never going to learn. No. When you arrive at where you're supposed to be, it'll be very clear. Oh, I made a left turn when I should have made a right. Very clear. When you get there, you'll be able to look back, but you can't see it unless you shift your relationship with it. See, you have to get at the transcendent awareness. Then you can look back and see where the mistakes were and where you got off. But you can't solve a problem with the same consciousness that created it. So we keep roaming around in the lost, trying to get ourselves out of it, and the joy keeps going down. And the joy keeps going down. No, we've missed a mark. If you are in a recovery program and you are at that point of making amends, this is exactly what the making amends is about. At some point, you got to quit going through that territory where you were lost. You have to quit repeating that pattern and that being your life story. You can't unring the bell. Done there, been that. Nobody's asking you to undo that. But in the making of the amends, you're trying to relocate yourself. See, in the making of the amends, you're coming back and saying, you know, I blew it over here. But I understand that there's someplace else that I'm supposed to be. I don't know if it's too late for you to get there with me. I don't know if it's too late for me to mitigate in any way, shape, or form any of the damage that I have left behind. But I am here to tell you I'm on a new path. I'm on a new direction. And as I release myself from the guilt and the shame of every place that I have been in the past, I am creating a new opportunity to be in new relationship. When you're making amends, you're coming with a transcendent awareness. When you're making amends, you're not just stuck in whatever this is that you did or you didn't do. You're recognizing I am more than this. You're recognizing that no matter how much I messed up, there's a higher place for me to be. This is at the root of forgiveness. It doesn't change what's happened, but it shifts your relationship to it so that you are no longer bound by its karmic effects in such a way as to be perpetually disempowered. You're free. See, joy requires us to stand in the and. That's why we can't confuse it with being happy. Because joy will require that we hold the continuum of it. To make amends, I have to see my greater possibility, but I cannot deny the way I missed the mark. I have to be able to hold the tension of both of those. And that's when you can move forward. And I don't care whether it's you as an individual or whether it's us at the nation. The same principles apply collectively as apply individually. If we're going to move forward If we're going to experience any joy, we have to hold the tension of it. We have to hold the promise of the possibility of all that we can be with all the places that we've missed the mark. You can't move forward without making amends. And the making amends is not just about being guilty or feeling a lot of shame. It's quite the contrary. You can't even begin to start making amends until you start standing in your power. We don't need everybody feeling guilty or shameful right now. It's immobilizing. What we need is for everybody to stand in the end and say, yes, this is what's happened and we can do better. Or, as it says in scripture, the sins of the father are visited upon the children. The status quo. The way we've missed the mark in the past continues on until you change, until you go another direction. We've got a GPS system that we've got programmed to just keep us looping in the same old mistake. No, I'm telling you now, there's a joy that's waiting for you as a person. There's a joy that's waiting your family. There's a joy that's awaiting your neighborhood, your spiritual communities. There is a joy that is awaiting our nation. If we have the courage to just look at what is with a transcendent awareness. And when you look at what is with a transcendent awareness, you realize it doesn't have to be. When you look at it from a transcendent awareness, you become aware that there are options, there are choices. Yes, this is what's manifested, but simply because we've missed the mark. Let that sink in for a moment. The beauty of it all is that it's never too late. The beauty of it all is that everything is energy. And it's all here at once. And you can choose to be in a transcendent awareness anytime that you want. I'll tell you what my practice is these days. My practice is claiming that everything is for my good. Everything. Today, I was holding something and it fell and it hit my ankle bone. And I said, ouch, because that instant sting is ouch. And I caught myself because I've been practicing. I said, ouch, everything blesses me. I would have said, damn it, ow, ow. And I would have been already thinking about how long is this going to hurt? Or should I get some ice? Or, is it going to be a bruise? And I was so pleased with how quickly I said, everything blesses me. And you know what? Within a couple of seconds, the sting was gone. It was gone. Because I wasn't preparing myself for how bad it was going to be. I haven't been to my chiropractor since all the COVID stuff. So what, 4 months? 4 months or so? I was already late seeing him, maybe 5 months, because this is July already. It could be 5 months since I saw my chiropractor. So we got this, thing going with my hips. And now I'm working with the trainer, hallelujah, who's really helping me straighten up. So I have this thing going on where the hips rotate and will make my right leg appear to be shorter. So I was doing something I shouldn't have been doing next door, and I was moving this one table, and something said, don't do that. Um, I normally don't wear flip flops, but it was a hot day, and there wasn't anybody here, and I had on these flip flops, and I was carrying one of those 6-foot tables, and there was some kind of way I was trying to flip the table, but anyway, my foot kind of flipped out of the flip flop, and and the table was going down, and it was like I was going down too. So and like boom, and I landed on my hip, and the first thing I said is like, everything works together for my good. And when I got over the sting of it, and I kind of did like this, it was like, oh man, they gave me a chiropractic adjustment. It's like the force of that was the exact same spot that he would have put some pressure on. It was like, oh, yeah, okay, that was good. All things work together for my good. And, I don't know what you're going to do, but I ask you to do something that becomes a practice of yours of going up to a transcendent awareness about what's going on. And there is the joy. There's the joy. Did it erase the fall? No. The fall was still there. But did the fall have to mean all of these bad things? No. I looked at the fall from a distance. So I looked at it at a transcendent awareness as just a fact, without reading everything into it ahead of time. Now, if I'd broken my hip or something like that, I'm not saying I would have been in denial that had happened. What I'm saying is that stuff is going on all the time that's just data. It gives us no information until we infuse it with meaning, and let's stop giving everything so much meaning. And let it be just stuff that we can move through. And if you are willing to go on that journey, your sense of joy won't be going up and down with the news. It won't be going up and down with the circumstances, because your transcendent awareness will be resting in this peace that can't be described. Or scripture describes it, the peace that passes all human understanding. That's where your joy comes from. When you're resting in the divine, not wallowing in the past. Just breathe that in.